My name is Paul Anderson. I work for BT. I think most people know the brand, but I'll just talk a little bit about who we are, what we do. We are one of the largest telecommunication companies in the UK, 30 million customers across the mobile, broadband and television services. Around 600 stores on the high street, and we have about 12,000 advisors. We've been using eGain for around about 10 years now, and I've been in that journey for the whole time. So I do normally fly by the radar under the seat, so this is a little bit out my comfort zone presenting today. I found out on Friday that I'll be presenting. Just my boss has got COVID at the moment, so hopefully I'll do this presentation justice. A little bit of introduction around us. So we are the largest provider of consumer mobile and fibre broadband. We've got the three brands as well. So we've got PlusNet, BT and EE, and we are in the process of rebranding as well. So a lot of work going on the knowledge management side. I think in order to tell you our relationship with eGain as well, I'm just going to talk a little bit about our journey so far, just in terms of how we got to where we are today. And then a little bit more around what we're actually going to plan to do as well, because we've got loads in the pipeline. And I think just a lot of this today, that it's not just the product, listening to all the presentations, and from Ashu's point of view, the relationship that we have with the eGain guys as well. I think a couple of you guys have touched on it when you've been presenting today, is absolutely key. So we have a joke, we have a laugh. They feel like an extended part of the family in terms of what we do and how we work with them. But they're also on the same page as us in terms of what we want to do. I guess as a business, we're always trying to push and strive to get more out of our products and more out of our service, and give the advisor's job the easiest possible opportunity to be able to delight our customers. We're all working in harmony to provide you broadband, home phone, mobile and entertainment services. If you do have any queries about your broadband services and you are with BT or EE, please speak to customer services. I'm not going to be able to answer it all, but it is all in our knowledge management system. And we are delivering next voice data services and next generation. We also have the emergency services contract as well, which is a huge part, making sure that we've got coverage across the UK. So I guess when we always used to talk about network coverage, it was always about within the big cities. We're now really striving to get coverage across the UK. So whether you're up in a mountain in the middle of nowhere, we have to be able to provide a service as well. A little bit about us. So I'm going to look up this way rather than down at the slides. But I think from my point of view, I started back in 2000, been in EE nearly 24 years now. It was Orange when I first started, owned by France Telecom at the time, T-Mobile owned by Deutsche Telekom. Some of you may remember, if you're from London in particular, we launched Everything Everywhere around about 8 or 9 years ago. And at that point, it's when I moved into the knowledge management team. Everything Everywhere then formed into EE. And there was a huge launch on EE on the side of a big building, listed building in London. EE, just to put any fallacies to one side, does not stand for Everything Everywhere, even though it's the same and it looks like an acronym. So just to put that out. A few years back, we were acquired by BT. BT now have the BT brand, the EE brand, and the PlusNet brand. PlusNet's our value brand. EE very much is driven, I guess, as a mobile service. We're a high-value brand. We may be a little bit more, but we sell ourselves on that service. And part of the reason that we have all our UK contact centres, and also why we're trying to deliver the best in class in terms of service, and then BT from a point of view from a broadband perspective. This is me. As you can see, I just had my photo taken about an hour before the presentation. It was my lovely boss, who's probably watching on TV right now, along with a few of my colleagues. I'm sure I'll get a few heckles when I get back. But yeah, I'm knowledge manager at BT and EE. I've been there 20 years. I started on the phones many moons ago, and I guess just on the journey of mobile phones in particular, I think when you first started, those who are of similar age to me, mid-40s or above, we've probably seen the birth of the internet, probably seen the birth of mobile phones, and you've gone from the standard Nokia, where you used to be able to make and receive phone calls and send a text message and play Snake, to the really complex products and devices that we've got today. I guess that's one of the main reasons that, from an eGain perspective, why we challenge them so hard and why they really support us, because the complexity of our processes and products and services have just gone tenfold, and I think anyone could probably vouch for that. I think across all the presentations today, customer expectation, customer demand has gone up, and I think at the same time, from products and services and the internet and the evolution of Gen AI, we've talked a lot about that today, and what we're trying to do with it, have all gone massively up, and all of a sudden our advisors are trying to deal with more and more and more. So we're going to talk a lot about guided help today, because I think because of the complexity of our processes, and because we've got 12,000 contact center staff, we've got 30 million customers, we've got multiple brands, we say actionable insights to continuously improve service and product. But what we're doing, I've got my innovation team sat there who work with the eGain innovation team as well. We're always looking at what is the next step, where do we go? And Gen AI is a massive part of that, both from an efficiency point of view for authoring, using the eGain console and being able to create good content for our advisors, but also the efficiencies for our staff. where we're trying to get to today is to truly delight our customers. So rather than that age-old adage contact center, how can I help you? We move to a world where actually we know what the customer's done before they've even landed in our contact center. We can tell them what their problem is before they even get there. Intent, understand the customer journey, authenticated journeys in our digital platforms. Passing that information to our advisor population, but before that call lands, is huge. Not handling time savings, but delighting the customer with your NPS as well, because it is a big challenge. When we first launched with eGain, there are some numbers on here. So I guess in order to help you understand how we got to these numbers, a lot of the guys have talked about how hard it is to be able to quantify return on investment, and I agree to an extent. What we've done with eGain, though, is we've fed data that we know from the customer. So we've integrated the eGain platform with our CRM, with our other tools and products, and we've taken that data and what we know about that customer to feed it into the knowledge management tool. And that allows us to then, from an analytical perspective, understand how well our processes are performing. Guided help or case-based reasoning is a key part of that. If we were just using article content, which we still do to this day, if it was just article content, it would be a lot harder to track. But with the case-based reasoning, the fact that we build content in such a way that we understand contact reasons in the language of the customer, and then we can correlate that with the customer data we pass in, we can understand by process what our FCR is, what our NPS is, what our handling time is. And at the same time, having came from a contact center background as a team manager, as an ops manager, even being on the phones back in the day, we can also use it as a coaching tool. So gone are the days in our world of having a conversation around how can you raise your NPS as an individual. We now look at where the advisor could really help improve performance. If they're really good at broadband network problems, they might not be so good at dealing with a TV query. And that's where we can really leverage that from a contact center perspective as well. And the analytics eGain give us, just to that extent, Ashu touched on the analytics earlier on, is a huge part of that. What did we achieve? So we did manage to track it. We did look at, from post-launch, and bearing in mind we started with 6 knowledge designers. All of the guys who work in our knowledge team now came from our frontline. We've created pathways in terms of being able to promote people from a frontline advisor perspective into our knowledge management team, and then on and beyond that as well. So some of the guys who I've worked with and even employed into the knowledge team have now gone on to bigger and better things, and probably earning way more money than I am as I stand on the stage today. We did achieve a 30-point boost in NPS. So if I just reflect, we were looking for a 20-point boost in NPS score. Again, correlation to the actual launch. We were looking at the volumes and we were looking at the usage. We mandated our knowledge base, Albert, at the very start, and we were able to track, from the analytics again that the eGain guys provide. Are our advisors using the knowledge base? And when we say mandate, we didn't force it upon them. We give them a soft target of around 80% of calls. Just that we know that over 20% of calls gives, there's transfers in there. There are other query types that may not need that opportunity to use a knowledge management tool. But 30-point boost in NPS score to start with. A massive 37% improvement in first contact resolution. I think, if you look at the figure, we were looking for 20% in terms of our ROI. We got a 37% improvement pretty much within the first 3 to 6 months of launch. And then speed to competency. So our training went from 6-week induction to a 2-week induction, and less need for a grad bay because our advisors were less likely to put their hands up and ask for queries. We had everything laid out, good taxonomies, good search, good topic structure, in order to land our advisors with the right contact reason. And when we put it in voice of the customer, and in terms of our case-based reasoning, our root cluster of each case base gives you every single call reason by topic, by contact reason, with some really important reporting tags sat in the background to give us that analytical journey. And then it takes us to where we are. This is Albert. So Albert was, I think somebody had, again, probably similar journey. We've done a name that knowledge base. We had Guru, which I think was one of the names of one of the knowledge bases on display. We had Scholar. We amalgamated those right at the start. We had around about 30,000 individual articles. Seems a lot. We had the T-Mobile knowledge base, Merlin. We had the Orange knowledge base, Scholar. And then we launched Albert at the same time as EE. And we brought all of the new processes in for EE at the same time as well. What you can see here, I'm just going to cross the screen here. We've got all of our brands on here at the moment. When we load Albert up these days, we put a customer telephone number in, or our advisors put a customer's telephone number in, or it'll pre-populate that telephone number, and it'll launch Albert with just the information we know about that customer. So we take the brand, we take the products and services of that customer, and we can denote it. So we have aqua tiles for our EE, we have the purple BT, we have the generic blue tiles. You'll see there's some stuff in here like simulators and things that we have progressed along the way using the eGain product. We've saved ourselves lots of money with other vendors by replacing them and bringing them in-house. So all of our device and mobile and broadband simulators all sit and are managed using iframes and some clever scripting in the background on the cloud, which allows us to create really robust simulators. And at the bottom there, we have our PlusNet brand as well. Like I said, these days, our advisors, we've consolidated. We have about 10,000 articles. We've got about 5,000 guided help. And I think guided help is the main use of Albert in terms of what we do. We build everything in such a way that we can attach the articles, we can attach solution articles. And because we've got that customer data in, and we can denote that right at the start, both in terms of how we display our knowledge management tool, we can also answer questions and save the advisors time and effort. So if we want to know what broadband router they've got, we can take a feed of that. If we want to know what device the customer's got, a mobile phone device, we take a feed of the IMEI from our CRM platform, and we feed that into Albert. And all of this customer data comes in the panel alongside on the right-hand side here. That allows us to then pre-answer steps in our flow. So I'm not sure if everyone understands case-based reasoning or if you've seen case bases, but it's very much a tree. A lot of question and answers to get you to a start point. And then once you're in your process, your question and answers, your happy paths, your unhappy paths, to give a linear experience for our advisor, but have a myriad of different outcomes, both for happy and unhappy paths, to get to a triage journey. It's predominantly based on what the NHS done. So if anyone was here a few years ago, David Walker presented for us, the journey didn't change. I've been part of that right from the start, and that journey was very much about getting it right in terms of our naming conventions and landing our advisors in the right spot as quickly as we can, give them all the information, and be as efficient as we can in getting to the right solution. The triage is our solution article, and I guess when you overlay customer data plus our income and contact reason plus our triage, we can then understand from an effort perspective where our effort goes. So did we resolve it on the call? Did we have to send a piece of equipment back out to the customer? Did we have to send an engineer out to resolve that, which gives our transformation, our support teams in the background, a wealth of knowledge and information that can really support them in improving our customer journeys as well. And a lot of that's largely down to eGain. Like I said, they are part of the extended family. We really do have long, hard conversations. We challenge them. They challenge us back. But ultimately, we've all got the same goal, and that's to try and make sure that the knowledge management tool that we deliver is best in class in terms of what we can deliver from a telecoms perspective. As you can see, there's more information on here as well. Just passing that information through. We do have an advisor feedback loop. So we didn't use the out-of-the-box feedback loop. We challenged eGain on that as well. So now our advisors click a feedback button. They can press submit. My knowledge designers in the background get a full view of the Q&A that they followed and an exact detail of what that feedback looks like, so we can really try and improve things. So that's, I guess, gamifying Albert. We have little pin badges we can give out for good feedback. We put regular comms out to the operation as well to truly make us part of that support function, support our advisors and make them feel like they have a voice. I'm going to move on a little bit on the innovation program. I don't know if anyone has any questions before I start, just on where our journey so far. Hopefully not. Cool. Our innovation program and the eGain's innovation program came together as a collaborative partnership. We have regular conversations with eGain. They tell us what's coming. Having a conversation with Ashley at lunchtime with the guys from JP Morgan there. I think some of the stuff that they've got in the pipeline, stuff that we've asked for. So when we map processes out, we use Visio. I think most people have probably seen Microsoft Visio and creating process maps. We then have to transfer that Visio as our blueprint into the knowledge console at the background. I think somebody, again, on one of the presentations earlier, mentioned the overhead it takes to create case-based reasoning. I think the overhead's worth it in the initial setup. I think we use articles to a really good extent. There are different types of knowledge content, which we'll touch on in a moment, that are merited in different formats. But that innovation program, an initial focus on agent experience, we're now moving on to our omni-channel innovation as well. So can we get to a point where we've got really best-in-class advisor, consumer advisor knowledge, and can we take it to an omni-channel perspective? So can we get somebody who goes online and understand what they've done? Can we save up the same journey, just in a different format? R21, I think, was mentioned earlier on as well. So we are in the process of upgrading to R21. And I think what that's going to give us, as well as the improved analytic journey, that looks fantastic, by the way, is on top of that, we're going to be able to get to a point where actually we offer once and that we profile information. We can, down to the nth degree, we can profile a word differently to a digital channel as we would provide to an advisor, which allows us to account for things like CRM. If we want the advisor to go in and complete a check in a CRM, that journey would obviously be different for a customer who's in a digital platform. So the proof of concept at the moment, which we'll touch on again, is our bill not as expected. Most customers probably resonate with that. Most of you guys will do as well. Customers never like to receive a high bill. Most of you probably have from a mobile phone or a broadband company, I'm sure, and then want to query why that is. So we're looking at, if the customer starts online if they start in chat, if they start in a VA, and then they land in the contact center, how do we make that journey adjoined? And how easy is that to do? Because that's the myth that we need to dispel in order to get our directors on board with this omni-channel POC as well. And I think a lot of that is more, there's a general feel that our internal knowledge writers have all came through an advisor, they've been advisors, they're close to the customer, but they're not there to write content for our digital platforms. But the fact that we can profile content this way allows us to have one seamless journey for every single query. And we do that already for brand today. So at the minute we take a brand, we use the same broadband diagnostic journeys for our PlusNet, our EE, our BT journeys. And what that allows us to really do is focus on one set of journeys, use some brand logic to then differentiate. And we can take a flow down a different way if we want to, or we can have the same flow and we just put some profile tags in place in the back end of the eGain console, which then allows us to display the same set of question and answers to the advisors, but a different set of content, i.e. different CRM steps, different tools that they may need to use. Just touch a little bit on innovation, quick answers. So one of the challenges that we have using guided help, and like I said, it's not all plain sailing. Guided help's fantastic, especially for your new starters, getting somebody on board, getting them to understand the process, giving them the opportunity to have a personal conversation with our customers, whilst not really having to focus too much on a huge, big article that they then have to decipher. Everything built in a point of Q&A. Quick answers just give us, off the back of some feedback from our advisor population, very much, once you become tenured and you do your day-to-day job, your bread and butter query types become a bit mundane. We don't make, we make, I think, about 400 to 800 changes a week in BT and EE, just on the knowledge system, hence the reason we've got 26 heads working in knowledge designers. But the feedback from advisors was these would have historically been in steps, so we would ask them to toggle mobile data and we would give them information. We'd ask them to check for active daily data allowance. All of those questions would be asked in sequence. What we can do now with the innovation of quick answers is group those questions together and give the advisor the freedom to understand, okay, I know how to ask the customer these. I don't need additional content or knowledge management information to support me. And they can checkbox the ones that they can ask the customer straight off. Any that they didn't, or if they don't resolve the query, or if they don't feel comfortable, you can see there we can skip the answers. We can bypass them over to the next step. And if they only check 4 of those 5 boxes, it will take the box that is unchecked, and it will give them specific information to support that step as well. It's been massively successful in terms of the trial. The feedback and the verbatim from our advisor population has been really positive. And I think if you just look at the numbers there as well, so percentage of calls, so we did trial it. I think if you just look at that, the top graph at here, did we use quick answer? The volumes aren't huge. Bear in mind, we've got about 1 million sessions of guided help alone going for Albert every single week. Our call volume, about just shy of 1,000, showed that it was one flow that we put it on, almost a 6% differential in first contact resolution. Amongst that, on top of that, the advisor's feedback just to say, fantastic, it's so much of a difference not having to have my bread and butter calls dictated to me. So it was another string to the bow in terms of getting buy-in from our advisor population on the knowledge management tool. I think on top of that 5%, normally what you see is the FCR might go up, but the HT may also go up at the same time. The handling time was about 91 seconds below that of the guys who didn't use the quick answers as well. So a whole host of savings in terms of HT and FCR, which you applied a net saving of 4.25%, which sounds no mean feat, but if you apply that across the 6,000 guided helps we have across all of our brands, a massive opportunity there to be able to save for our customers in terms of time and effort, and our advisors as well. There are 4 types of KM, so I mentioned this earlier. So Q&A, can I use my mobile contract in Spain? Very, very simplistic in terms of the question. Education, what is digital voice, is a good question. Customers ask, what are some of our products and services? Triage, this is our guided help. I'm missing something, something's not working. Or how to, I'd like to pay a bill, I'd like to do X, Y, or Z. Each of these have a different purpose in terms of how we set up. We tend to use the case base every single time. Some of them are really short Q&A sessions, some are really long, but we embed things into our solution articles to give to keep our reporting and analytics aligned and keep the experience aligned for our advisors, but try and organize our content in such a way that allows our advisors to be able to get to the quickest answer possible. We also allow them to jump from a guided help session across to an article if they need to, and we also have pause and resume. I think somebody touched on it before. So if you have a back office process or you have a level 2 team, you can hand that call off, and because we've got customer context in the knowledge management tool, we can pause and allow the next advisor to resume. If the customer's got a baby and screaming in the background and they need to go, they can save that session and they can come back to it as well. So a lot of savings in terms of the opportunity this presents. This is phase one. I won't go into it in too much detail, but this is our curated knowledge content, so knowledge management, which is just for our internal customers. So we have 3 different versions of Albert. We have a retail version, which is very different to how we present for our consumer guys in the contact centers, and we have a business version as well. We're not in the omni-channel section yet. I touched on that. That's where we're trying to look at and support our digital colleagues in terms of having that joint journey. But in terms of how we set up, very much, chatbot, self-service agent, Advisor Hub, which is our internally built and hosted system. So our IT folk created that, and we've integrated using the API model, the eGain function, which works really fluidly as the knowledge base then sits within all of the customer detail, as well as being able to draw information from the Advisor Hub as well. And we've got lots of plans to add data, data pass in there. We've got lots of plans to add RPA, which I think has been touched on. And then the Gen AI stuff is to come. So the omni-channel strategy is very much, how do we get to that point of end-to-end journey in one space? It doesn't matter where you start as a customer. It's how you get to the end point and making sure that we give them the same answers and we're consistent across our channels in terms of that. We're looking at a number of different things at the moment to be able to do this, but we've got some proof of concepts that are going into our directors, which very much brings to life how we create that content in the Knowledge Console itself, to dispel any myth that maybe it is hard to build content for multiple channels in one space. Like I said, eGain, make it really simple to highlight and just choose which channel you want to show it on or which brand you want to show it to. And then how do we adjoin those journeys to pass that information through from channel to channel? So when it does end up in the contact center, our customer service advisors are geared up and they can really delight our customers. What's next? I'm not sure how we're doing on time. I feel like I'm going through fairly quick. But we've got a load of stuff. So we're VA supported by Knowledge POC. This is the one knowledge approach. So our knowledge strategy, which Stacey, I'm not sure she's watching at the moment, is really trying to drive that one knowledge approach. So a single source of knowledge for all of our tools and our support, and benchmark that against our existing chat and VA channels. We're going to target a POC on top of Contact Driver, which is built not as expected. So this is our customers starting on the app, starting in our digital channel, wherever they may start, to say my bill wasn't as I anticipated it would be, and allow us to bring to life how that journey looks from an end-to-end perspective. And the eGain folk have been really close. We've had some fantastic support from the guys in terms of building out videos, and I won't call out names. I'll be here all day, Ashu, naming most of your team. But they're all fantastic in supporting us. And that will allow us to get to a point where we can demonstrate, some of our most common queries into our contact centers, how we can build one version of the truth. Instant answers, I think Ashu touched on earlier. I'm really excited about instant answers. I'm really excited about GPT. I think my boys at the back are all a little bit nerdy. They love that. They're all smiling. I'm sure they're going to be heckling me later on for however bad I've done the job of this today. But no, the instant answers really excites me. I think at the minute we have an ability to be able to, an advisor to search for knowledge content, and we can split that out by guided help and article. What we're going to try to do, and if you were liking it to Google, I think Google's a really good example, where you search for something on Google and it tries to preempt the different questions and what that means and surface specific answers to those questions. Setting some parameters, setting as much as we know about the customer and feeding that data into us, and then allowing our advisors to choose, is it guided help, is it an article, is it an instant answer they want, is going to really set us apart in terms of getting us to the right answer really quick. And I think instant answers excites me just because we're going to try and develop a little box at the top of our screen that allows that to scroll through the content using the large language model, take information from that and try and create, a piece of content that answers the query that the advisor searched for, and then provides a level of confidence. But also, if we don't want it to answer that question, we'll take it out of there and we'll push it into a guided help, or we'll push it into an article. So there's loads that we're doing with the guys from eGain at the moment to really leverage that instant answers piece. It took me a little while to get around your schematics, if I'm totally honest, Ashu. Now I've got it. I think these guys will probably tell you better than I can, but I think having the ability to set our parameters within the console, having the ability to tell instant answers or GPT what we want it to use it for, what we don't want it to use it for, passing information through into the knowledge base to be able to determine, because I guess if you imagine you get similar queries for TV products, similar queries for mobile products, similar queries for our broadband products. So we create content for that. Yeah, we have it profiled a lot of the time, but those articles, if we didn't have good parameters of search and we didn't have data feeding into us, it would return information back. I use a next analogy. If you're searching for a pair of jeans, or I'm searching for a pair of jeans, I tend to tell it the size of the jeans that I'm looking for. I tend to tell it what gender of jeans I'm looking for. And that allows it to filter it down straight to what I'm looking for rather than give you everything. And I think in the same way as our knowledge management tool is set to support all our brands and all our products and services, what we need to do is make sure we feed that information in and we cut down the content that it can search from. And that's where we're trying to get to with instant answers with the eGain guys. We are going to look at a phased approach to deliver True Omni. So this won't happen overnight. I don't think anyone's under any illusions that we will. We can see from volumes, like I said, 1 million sessions per week across the use of our knowledge tool. And we can see the big hitters in terms of what drives the volume into our contact center. So we'll leverage the volumes and the analytics that we get first of all to really draw on maybe our top 5 or top 10 query types that land in our contact centers and see how much of a deflection we can create as well. So can we deflect customers from calling into the contact center by providing the best content possible and the same content to both our digital customers and to our advisors?